Hi there, Viola. So I'm really happy to see that you sent us some essays for your IELTS preparation. Wonderful. Let's take a look at what you have written. The first essay is about schools and whether they should only educate or if they should be entertaining as well. So let's see what you said. When it comes to school planning, it is always a contentious issue. I believe adding some entertainment activities would be more helpful compared with education alone in reaching the goal of schooling. This essay will use examples of feedback. This is usually a singular, okay? Feedback from both employers and students themselves to demonstrate points and prove the argument, okay? Prove arguments would probably be a better expression here. But other than that, I think you did a lovely job of your paragraph. It was clear, it was well structured, the vocabulary, the grammar, everything was fine. So let's move on. Firstly, let's get rid of this "the" here. So firstly, entertainment is an ideal way to let students develop communication cooperation skills, which are crucial in the workforce. This is because activities create opportunities for students to interact with each other under more diversified circumstances. According to research, NOA, published in the Harvard Business Review, 80% of the employers agree that employees who spent time on extracurricular activities in school are more cooperative and productive. Therefore, entertainment increases the edge in employment and serves education goals better. Okay, this paragraph is fine. I have one concern about this expression, increases the edge. It's not really an expression in English. What we typically say it gives someone an edge. This too is a little idiomatic, so it might be considered by some IELTS examiners as being a little informal. So you could have said this exact same expression in a more formal way. So you could have said that, therefore, entertainment gives students an advantage in employment and serves education goals better. So I thought what you did is good. You didn't really get into a ton of specifics here, but it's okay because it still felt like you were on topic. You were carrying this idea of entertainment throughout your paragraph. You talked about it here. You talked about opportunities, activities that create opportunities for students to interact with each other. Let's see, here you talked about extracurricular activities, but then again you talked about entertainment at the end. So why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because a lot of times students writing this essay talk about engaging activities and activities that really allow students to have different methodologies in their classes and whiteboards and computers and etc., etc. But those aren't really entertainment. Your paragraph here mentioned entertainment enough, mentioned some things related to entertainment enough for me to feel, yes, this is on topic, okay? So that's really important because, like I said, especially in this first essay, it's an area that I see a lot of people struggle with. So I'm glad so far you haven't. Let's take a look and see what you did in your next paragraph. Secondly, students enjoy sound friendships, which is an indispensable part of their personal development during school activities. This is due to the fact that, get rid of this comma, compared with running between classes, students feel more relaxed and thus know more about their teammates. An article published in or by the New York Times tells that many people give the credit of their friendships, their resources for career and support in difficulties, to the entertaining activities back in the school. Consequently, entertainment will help to cover the missing part that education cannot provide. Now, here, did you mention education? Did you mention entertainment rather? Yes, of course you did. You mentioned it starting here. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that you didn't do as well of a job carrying this idea of entertainment throughout the paragraph, because you have to remember that in these paragraphs it's extremely important to have one central idea. Typically, that central idea is clear to us from that first sentence in the paragraph. So let's look at your first sentence. You talked about friendships and you talked about how important it is for personal development during school activities. Now, there is absolutely nothing in this sentence that leads us to understand that you're going to be talking about entertainment in school. Okay, so you went about this paragraph. I mean, you had some nice ideas. I understand what you were trying to get at. You were trying to essentially say that entertaining activities allow students to interact with each other better. They allow students to have to get friendships, and it is these friendships that provide wonderful support in people's future lives, whether it's for their jobs, whether it's for psychological support, and so on and so on. But so I understand what you're trying to say. Unfortunately, you kind of went about it kind of going backwards, if I can put it like that. Okay, so it's really important that the examiner, when reading this paragraph, understands from that first sentence or so what it is you were trying to say and what argument you were actually making here. Okay, so a lot of nice things, definitely, some good ideas, some nice development, but you needed to structure a little differently, because I really didn't know what you were talking about until we got all the way down here. Okay, so let's take a look at your conclusion. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly agree that school has to be more entertaining in order to reach its goal. It is predicted that fully developed people are more likely to have a sense of fulfillment in careers and lives. Okay, that was fine, no problem. So yeah, you had some nice elements, no question about it. There was a lot I liked. I liked that you had the idea of entertainment throughout this essay. Like I said before, it's something that, although it might surprise you, a lot of people really struggle with, but you didn't, and so I'm really happy about that. However, still, there were some areas in terms of task achievement that you needed to work on a little bit, as well as in coherence and cohesion. I'm specifically referring to this paragraph. It needed to be restructured in such a way that the central idea is clear from the beginning. Okay? Let's see. So yeah, for your first essay, I think you've done a very nice job, really. So why don't we take a look now at your second essay, see what you did with this one. It's about doing an enjoyable activity with a child. So here's what you said. There are usually two ways for a child to gain skills and become more creative: spending time on pleasant activities or learning knowledge from books. I firmly believe that the former one is the better choice. This essay will compare the effectiveness of two methods and of the two methods, because you've told us which two methods they are, so you should use the here. And use examples of a study and a polymath to demonstrate points and prove arguments. Okay, fine. Firstly, what is crucial in cultivating skills is practice. While reading now here, okay, fine. While reading can only tell a child theory. This is a lovely sentence. What is crucial in cultivating skills is practice. What a nicely written sentence, or rather, it's a clause really, but what a nicely written clause grammatically. It's lovely, and it's not the kind of structure I see very often. And so as an examiner, that would really kind of perk me up. I'd be like, okay, wow, we're seeing some nice higher level grammar here. So excellent job in using this particular structure here, okay? So this is because even if a child knows every piece of knowledge about a certain skill, he may not master it. Also, lovely, you've got this even if, so perfect. A study by the University of Stanford shows that activities allow, without an S, a child to practice step by step and help form the muscle memory. Therefore, doing fun activities produces more ideal results. Here we needed an S. So if there was one extra little piece of information I would have wanted in this paragraph, it would have been in this last sentence, for you again to compare practice with reading. Okay, so therefore doing fun activities produces more ideal results than reading does. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, the second thing that I want to mention is this. Now, look at this. You talked about fun activities, but here in the rest of the paragraph, you never really talked about this element of fun. You talked essentially about the idea that practice makes perfect. So, you need to ensure that if you're going to be talking about fun activities and practice of fun activities again, that you're talking about it throughout the entire paragraph, okay? Because there are a lot of activities that children repeat over and over and over again. I mean, think about children who are trying to master musical instruments. I mean, that's one thing that comes to my mind when you're trying to master like a very difficult piece on the piano or the violin. You know, you just practice over and over and over and over and over again. This could become rather tedious. So, but here at the very end, you talk about fun. All right, so make sure that this is clear, that we're talking about something fun that children enjoy doing rather than something that could be rather tedious, okay? So just make sure that you've got the same central idea. Let's move on. Secondly, interesting activities rather than books are the cradle of imagination. What a lovely sentence. Nice. This is due to the fact that, no comma, instead of teaching fixed content, these activities give children opportunities to explore by themselves. Take Leonardo da Vinci, for example. He was a highly productive genius with fascinating imagination. Here I think you needed an A, even though I'm not super thrilled with this piece of vocabulary here, a fascinating imagination. Just because it's not really a very acceptable collocation. We could say with a limitless imagination, with an endless imagination. He was a highly productive genius with an endless imagination who only read few books as a child because his family was poor and was mainly educated in a studio by doing activities he enjoyed. Okay? It's a great example, though. Consequently, these activities are an indispensable part for children to look at things, from totally fresh perspectives. Okay, so what are you telling us here? That Leonardo didn't read, but instead, let's see. Okay, do you know what's missing for me here? You talked about Leonardo da Vinci, and here you talked about activities, you talked about interesting activities, and then here activities again. And then just the fact that he didn't read any books, and then here these activities. But you never actually lay out for us what these activities are. Now, obviously, I think everybody in the world knows who Leonardo da Vinci was, knows he was a famous artist, but still, for the purposes of IELTS, it's really important that you bring this up, that what you're talking to us about essentially is practicing art and engaging in art. So, let's see. So you could have said here, these activities like drawing, like painting, okay? That's something you needed to add. Just give us a little tangible example here of what it is you're talking about. Okay, and here, you said he was mainly educated in the studio by doing activities. What were those activities? He was painting, he was drawing, he was examining cadavers, he was doing a lot of stuff. But at least tell us what they are so that we can understand that these activities are those that facilitate imagination, okay? All right, other than that, I thought the paragraph was lovely. Again, grammar, vocabulary, everything really well controlled, very solidly organized. So everything is going really well, but just make sure that you're adding in those elements that make it a well-developed paragraph as well. All right, so moving on to your conclusion. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly agree that doing an enjoyable activity is a wiser option to let children learn skills and spike their imagination. Here you needed a rather than reading. In the future, schools will arrange such activities more. Okay, this is a lovely essay in a lot of ways. I think you must understand that I've liked it. There were a lot of elements I liked in terms of vocabulary, in terms of grammar. There were a lot of things that were very well done. But there are some things that I want you to start thinking about now that you're beginning your IELTS preparation with us on what you can do to improve this and make sure that you get the score that you need. Now, you're in a wonderful position because you do have a lot of really nice grammar and you do have a lot of nice vocabulary. So what we have to work on is some of these elements of coherence and cohesion and task achievement, okay? Those are some of the things that I want you to think about. So the next steps for you are the following. Number 1, correct these essays based on the suggestions in this video. Number 2, create an error correction list with the mistakes written, and then next to each mistake, write what the corrected version would be. Add to that error list with each correction you get back from us. And then the third thing that you need to complete and send to us all together, all three of those things, is your new set of essays. Okay, so try to do this all within the next day or so you can really apply everything you've been learning. We're here, we're waiting for your essays, we're looking forward to them, so go ahead, get everything started, and we'll meet back here. Good luck.